Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. My name is Evans Mensah. And now tonight, agitations over better working conditions has led to a split in the front of teachers and educational workers union TEU of the Trades Union Congress. Now, all public universities, including the University of Ghana and KNUST, have announced they are breaking away from TEU so they can take the fight for better working conditions to the government themselves. The executives of TEU in the public universities who have broken away say the existing union has done terribly little to fight for improved conditions of service for teachers. They have formed a new group they call Tertiary Education Workers Union Ghana. And it claims that the conditions of service that they are currently fighting for have not been reviewed for 14 years, and they will take this fight for it to be reviewed directly to the government. Listen to Suleimana Abdurrahman, is the chairman of TEU GH, announcing the breakaway.
Everyone you see behind me or with me here are the executive of all the public universities in Ghana. So this decision that we have taken, Legon executives are part, UCC executives are part, KNUST, UEW, UMAT, UHAS, UDS, and all the other universities, including Amstec and other very new universities. We want to state categorically that we are no longer under the umbrella of TEU TUC TEU National. We want to hold the fort by ourselves so that when we negotiate with the government, part of what we have negotiated will not be taken away as they have done in our recent negotiations, which is, allowances that was negotiated for an MOU signed with Fairways and Soil Commission with government. By the end of the day, the national union went behind us, and these allowances was cut off.
Well, the new union say they are also taking possession of all the assets that belong to the union they are breaking away from. Listen to Charles Arthur. He's the interim chairman of TEU GH KNUST local chapter.
The new union takes asset and liability of the old union because we are in the local, we are dealing with the local matter. And let me take this opportunity to explain that the structure of TEU is like this. We have the national officers, we have the regional officers, we have the district officers, then we have the local health officers. What we are talking about is the local health officers and not the entire TEU, where there will be confusion. So this one, there's no ambiguity of what we have done. So if we have any asset here in KNUSC, it is ours. It is ours. When we have other assets in Accra that belong to the entire TEU as a body, all of us, it belongs to them. But we are talking about the assets in the various locality. It's what we are saying, that we are taking them, and if we also liability, we have also taken it, because the two goes together.
Let's get to the heart of this challenge now. I want to bring in the TEU GH, National Chairman Suleimana Abdul Rahman. Mr. Rahman, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you. Also joining us is the TEU TUC General Secretary, Mark Crunchy. Mr. Crunchy.
Hello.
Mr. Crunchy, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Have you been formally informed of the decision by now TEU GH to break away?
Well, we get media reports. We haven't got any official from. We are getting media report. Yes.
So you have not formally been informed?
No.
But you acknowledge, having heard what has been reported, and we've heard the sounds that effectively your front is broken and if they are no longer what you used to be.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that we've got media report. But they are very much that there is a procedure media if you want to leave the union. You're not obligation for anyone who wants to opt out to give the national union 6 months notice. And that has to be done on individual basis. So I'm not sure these individual members have gone through that process. So we have heard the media reporter and we take it as. But we can talk to the issues. So
we're having a challenge with your line. We'll get you back on a better line. But your point is clear. Suleimana Abdurrahman, the General Secretary of TUC, is insisting that the regulations that govern TEU specify how you can break away. You have to give a 6-month notice. Have you done that? And have you formally communicated your decision?
Thank you so much for having me once again. And good evening to your listeners. Please, we have actually written to TEU National. If the General Secretary says that they have not received any official communique to that effect, then I may not be able to challenge him because they did not write, to acknowledge the receipt of the letter that we had sent to them. So this is what I will say for that.
Beyond that, though, he says the rules and the regulations require that you give the 6-month notice. Have you done that?
That is what I said. We have written to TEU now.
So you mean 6 months ago
yes.
you wrote and you didn't get a response?
And I can tell you that because of what we have written to them, if you ask him as a General Secretary, he will tell you that they have even written inviting us for meetings. We boycotted it because we thought that if they have any message to give us, they could pen it down and then send to us. So that is how things went.
And let me understand what really the problem is. From what I've read and heard in the clips that we played at the event where this was announced, this is fundamentally about conditions of service, and you believe TEU National hasn't done enough as far as that is concerned.
My brother, in fact, our condition of service, as we had catalogued in our press statement, expired since 2008. And we have been on the doorsteps of TEU National. Always we have to go there asking them to make sure that we sit to look at the condition of service of the public universities. And finally, we started the negotiations around 2019. And 2019, when we finally had something signed, an MOU signed by TEU National, including with the local executives of the public universities, together with fair wages. In fact, at the end of the day, the document that was sent to the public universities for implementation, about half or almost all the monetary agreement that was agreed in the on the MOU was cut off, and our checks on the ground shows that our national officers were aware of this, and this is what has actually angered almost everybody, and we said we can no longer still continue to have officers who can go behind us and betray us in this manner.
So they, yes. When you said they were aware, did they agree that those benefits should be cut off?
Why I am saying this is that we signed the MOU. TEU National signature was part. Fair Wages and Salary Commission signatures were part. Now, TEU National was to make sure that this document will be enforced. To make sure that the document gets to all the public universities through GTEC, that is Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. Normally, when they are to effect any payments in the public universities, they will have to put a cover letter to any agreement that have been negotiated with. So it was the duty of TEU National to make sure that this letter, gets to every university local for implementation of these allowances. But at the end of the day, when we received this shocking news of cutting off of most of the allowances, our background checks, shows that all those things happens because of, lackadaisical nature of approaching issues. That is why we had to find ourselves in this situation by our TEU nationals.
And this happened in 2019, you said?
The negotiations started in 2019. And this MOU that I'm talking of, was finally agreed, early part of this year. And then we're expecting that, as I said, the documents will come as agreed and as signed, as we with the MOU. But unfortunately, it didn't come as expected. And that is why, when we make our inquiries on the background, we realized that, due diligence was not done by national leadership. That is why we had to find ourselves in this mess.
Mr. Abdurrahman, stay with me. Mr. Makranchi, do you admit that TEU National, under your leadership, you've been pretty shoddy at representing the interest of the members you represent?
I would not agree. I would not agree to this. Like you say, yes, we started negotiation in 2019, and we had to travel this far because whenever an agreement is reached, and we suggested much earlier that we needed to sign off so that those agreements would be implemented at the various university campuses. Our colleagues from the various campuses objected outrightly to this suggestion.
They objected to the benefits being implemented at the local campuses.
To the suggestion that we should sign off at the point when we have agreed on some of the provisions. We had not concluded negotiation, but at least we have made certain gains. And the understanding was that if we could sign those ones so that the university would begin to implement those decisions that we agreed on. Our officers objected outrightly from it being implemented at the local level. So in September last year, finally they agreed that we should sign off whatever we have gained, whatever agreement reached. And so September we signed off, and it's the responsibility of Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to forward this agreement through the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission to Ministry of Finance for implementation. So this document went to Ministry of Finance, and Ministry of Finance wrote a letter. And you should ask Sule, who is addressing this press conference, whether or not when the Minister of Finance was even writing to GTech, they copied the unions. They didn't. And when we got wind of it, inquired, they said they were expecting that GTech, that is Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, would rather inform us. So before we could hear of anything, GTech has also communicated this thing to the local unions. And our expectation is that if something has come and it is short of what we have agreed on, you would draw our attention, and then we will quickly follow up on fair wages and find out why there is any shortage at all.
But you say that GTech communicated directly to the local unions, as in UG, etc.
Exactly.
But if GTech themselves found the need to bypass the national body and go locally, then it doesn't suggest that your usefulness is in question.
No, that is not. GTEC has been part of the process throughout, and
But you led the negotiations.
listen, we lead the union front in
Yes.
the negotiation.
And yet, when it came to communicating what has been agreed finally from GTEC, they don't come to you; they go to your local chapters.
You see, GTEC has a certain structure. GTEC structure is that they coordinate coordinate the affairs of a tertiary university. So if tertiary institutions, so if there's anything that has to do with tertiary institutions, they write to the management of these tertiary institutions directly without recourse to the union. So these letters that he is mentioning was not letters that were addressed to the local unions, but letters that were addressed to the various managements of these public universities. I hope you get the point.
So bottom line, your main point is you don't accept responsibility for what has happened. It's not your fault.
No, it can't be our fault. I'm saying that.
So whose fault is it that is delayed for? Because of September to now is 9 months. Whose fault is it?
I will tell you. The fault is coming from Fair Wages, Ministry of Finance, and GTEC. If you call the immediate past Chief Executive of Fair Wages, Dr. Edward Papo, he will tell you how much pressure we have put on him when he was the Chief Executive and to follow up on this agreement that has been raised. And he will tell you what efforts we put in ensuring that these agreements are passed on to the Ministry of Finance and to the public universities for implementation. So the issues that these people are blaming on the national union, I am certain that it is lack of understanding of the processes. That is why they think that, and somebody says my background check. Which background did he check to ascertain the fact that the union is aware and the union reneged on its effort to follow the due process?
I mean, Abdul Rahman, you accept that what has happened and your breakaway is simply because you lack an understanding of the processes?
No, please, I beg to differ. I think the conditions of service negotiation problem is just one of the numerous issues or problems that we have been facing as far as TUC National is concerned. I can tell you that apart from that particular issue that I talked of, most of our members who had gone on retirement, recently, those members do not know where their tier 2 pension monies are. The tier 2 pension monies are supposed to be with the fund managers, and the TU National is supposed to represent us in that fund board so that they could protect the interests of their members. And as I speak with you, General Secretary is on the line. If you ask General Secretary where is the tier 2 fund managers or who are those in the board representing the union, he will tell you that he doesn't know. Because we had series of meetings of these issues that I'm just reaching out. You have our members, as I said, retiring with a meager amount, and those who are supposed to represent us on the board, who are TU National, to protect our interests, are not on the board, and they seem not to care of the pensioners as far as the public universities, TU members are concerned. And these are some of the issues that has added to this, condition of service renewal, and most members are so angry. I can tell you that some of the locals were even speaking up with the new unions, and we the executives had to stop them. That was last year, and trying to see whether we could, national leadership could try to up their game. But all advices and all assistance, the local executives try to assist TU National, through filter. And as I said, that is why we are taking this decision. Decision. It isn't that it is just a lack of understanding. It is actually, how do you call it? Lack of having committed leaders at the national level to steer the interests of TEU members at the locals. That is actually the bottom line of this. All these issues.
So now that you've broken away and you are on your own, what is going to change with the fight that you have now regarding your conditions of service?
Thank you so much for this question. What will change is that we will now negotiate directly with, Fair Wage and Salary Commission.
You have a bargaining certificate.
Pardon me?
You have a bargaining certificate now.
Of course, it is a process, and as the union is being duly registered by the Registrar General Department. All those things are processed, and inshallah we shall get there. And what I'm trying to say is that if it is about, how do you call it? Breaking away from the national union, you have, FUSAC broken away from the same TEU national union, and now we even have SSC broken away from FUSAC among the universities. So all what we are saying is that it's about leadership, because you are leading people's interests, and all their hopes are on you. So if you are leading people's interests, what you need to do is you must be committed and know that any action you take will have a dire consequences on the members at the local. Because as I said, someone retiring, this year, the person doesn't know where the tier 2, money is supposed to be coming from. Some retired and they will be asked to go to Accra, to meet the fund managers. And all these problems that we are facing is just because, our TEU national leadership is not committed of the welfare of the local members.
You say you're going to have a new approach. I hope that doesn't mean ultimately calling a strike and withdrawing service from the public.
No, please. You see, I think everything is about commitment. We will not be having a style of calling off, strikes, here and there. No. Our approach will be cordial, will be cooperative, and we are willing to cooperate with the university management together with government, Fair Wages and Salary Commission, to make sure that, issues affecting members of the local levels or the university staff, that is still GH, will be addressed quickly. And that is what we are committed to do.
Okay, Mr. Crunchy.
Yes.
Now that you've
let me correct something that I just said about tier 2 and their representation board. He knows very well that as we speak, one of their local chairmen, in the person of Brother Ken Bochi, who is at the University of Ghana, is the union's representative on the board and not the general secretary. The former general secretary, before he assumed position as general secretary, was a local chairman of the University of Ghana. And by extension, when he got onto the national leadership, he assumed that position until he left. Then they replaced him with our brother Ken Bochi. So Ken is the one responsible, and I know that Ken has ever reported to us, the national leadership, that they have gone around the regions, the various campuses, to sensitize members on this tier 2 contribution. So it is a complete fallacy and a complete lie. He's saying that national leadership has not been concerned with this their tier 2 pension scheme. They have a representation on the board.
Finally, Mr. Crunchy, they are gone now. They've broken away. They're gone. FUSAC 2 went a while back. What happens to TEU now? Is it still a serious organization?
Yes, TEU is a very serious organization. He himself will attest to the fact that it is not everybody on campus that is following them. So we would issue our statement in response to the very thing they have said, and we will get onto the various campuses to also get those who are committed to Teachers and Educational Workers Union.
But Mr. Crunchy, at this event, all the executives from all the public universities were there, and they all spoke from the same hymn book.
No, that is not a fact. Some of them were there, yes, but some have also not given their consent in total.
Okay. Well, Mr. Crunchy, thank you very much. Now we're learning of this split in the front of TEU. There's a new group that has now been formed called the Tertiary Education Workers Union of Ghana, and then breaking away from the Teachers Education Workers Union at the time when workers are asking for improved working conditions. I wonder what this will mean for a united front in getting what they want with wages discussions and negotiations about wages afoot. Let's bring in labor consultant Mr. Austin Game, who joins us now on the telephone line. Mr. Game, another split on the front of a labor union. The last time we talked about a similar instance. I wonder what you make of this and the very entrenched positions both hold and what this will mean for the ordinary teachers and lecturers at the public universities and universities across the country. Hello, Mr. Game.
Yes.
I mean, thank you for joining us. I just wonder what this whole controversy and the split now that has happened will mean for the workers, the ordinary workers in the universities across the country.
Well, it's most unfortunate to hear that this evening. I feel very sad. I say so because, of course, in unity lies strength as far as union and its organization is concerned. So anytime there is a split wherever in a union is quite a worrying matter. And I only began to be a little bit more deeply concerned when I heard one of the colleagues speaking now, as though that is the end of it. I was expecting that he was going to be inviting by way of trying to mend fences, regardless of the pressure that they might be on now. If he could organize and get the people invited for a meeting, for a kind of reconciliation, that would have been the best choice. So I'm really concerned about it. It's not the best story to be heard this evening.
Well, I'm grateful, Mr. Osingame, for your input. Always a delight hearing you on these matters. But if you are in any of the universities as a teacher or a worker there, and you're a member of TEU, or now what has been formed TEU GH, I wonder what you make of this, because this affects you directly, the ability to unite and fight for your interests. So let me hear from you. 055 111 997 Ghana Connecting.